The report's about how do we build an energy literate Australia, I suppose. Energy literacy is quite contested, and even trying to understand the concept of what does it mean is really challenging, because there's lots of people from different areas working in the energy space and beyond that have different ideas about what does that mean. And so really what we set out to do was really understand what an energy literacy framework might look like and how could that be delivered across Australia. It's difficult actually to have one single definition, but what we looked at when we looked at the literature and also undertook a whole lot of interviews is that an energy literacy framework encompasses a few things. It obviously has the cognitive element, so knowledge and skills, but also very much understanding the affective side, so what are people's attitudes, values, and their own personal responsibility towards energy, and then of course behavioural aspects around their own energy use. So when we looked through all of this work and the interviews, we actually came up with a definition of an energy literate person being defined as someone with the appropriate level of knowledge which empowers them to make informed, rational energy decisions and actions which have a positive outcome for the individual and ultimately society at large. For some people, how they use energy might have nothing to do with the environment. So it's really about what each individual brings to it. But from our perspective, I think what we found is actually it's really important to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all. That there are different people having different needs at different stages of their life. And so we sort of defined energy literacy, as have other researchers, that it's a journey, and that people in their lifetime will come in and out of that journey depending on their responsibilities and their interests. Very clearly what we see, there's quite a lot of early stuff done in schools, energy literacy, you know, how do we build, what's a solar farm, what's a wind farm. So definitely schools are an important part, but then if you think about here we are at an education, at university, an institution, so there are people here studying masters to learn really in-depth knowledge about parts of energy. If you're living at home, maybe a family with children, your big focus at one stage might be, you know, how do I reduce the cost of my electricity? Should I invest in electric vehicles? Should I just take public transport? So there's many facets to energy literacy. And I think what we found is it's about having the right information available so that people can come in and out and get what they need at that right time. Energy and understanding energy, you know, the importance of energy is seen in the fact that it's reflected in our Sustainable Development Goals at the United Nations at the most international level. Energy can do so much to people's lives depending where they are. We're quite fortunate living in Australia that we all have pretty good reliable energy. But then of course we're also challenged with transitioning to a low carbon energy. And so in that there's lots of new developments coming up, there's lots of things going on in the news. And so really what I would hope is that people can actually participate in those discussions and debates with the knowledge that they need to help make informed decisions. And I think hopefully that will ultimately help our politicians support for different projects going forward or for challenging them if there's a feeling that it's not right, but also in people's day-to-day lives as well, so that they're making more informed choices about their daily use. Energy literacy is something that I've been interested in for many years. I worked at CSIRO for about 10 years and I think really it hasn't changed very much, that we still have people with the same sorts of questions. And so it was really fortunate that NERA, the National Energy Resources Australia, had some funding that we could apply for, and so a team of people here at uq were able to actually undertake this research to really reflect on what would a literacy framework look like. And I guess underpinning that also is that literacy is very contested, and it's not only an issue in energy but also health and finance. I mean, we have big issues going forward with superannuation and people, how they manage. So my thinking was, as a researcher, if we could crack the elements for energy, could they ultimately then be transferred into these other fields as well? So that's sort of an exciting thing to think about if we can actually demonstrate what this looks like over time. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. We're not going to suddenly turn on the light, should I say, or turn on the switch that suddenly we're going to have an energy literate society. But I think actually if we can invest some resources in a coordinated way, that over time we'd see a society here that really is engaged on the topic and understand what's happening and can make informed decisions about their own energy use. So it would start in schools and then continue throughout life, with lots of that information being available on energy, so that people can use it in conversations when they want to. They can talk to their neighbours, or they can pass it on. Sometimes there's a bit of discussion around whether information's important, because a lot of choices are made through emotions and those things. But I think what I see is that people really want the opportunity to learn and to know about these things, so that then they can apply it to their life. So over time, this whole level of participation in energy policy and energy discussions would be great to see more Australians involved in that and understanding those choices that are being made, because it is a difficult challenge to transition to this low carbon society that we're all moving towards.